Hello, friends. I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you doing today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope everything is good. Where you are. Everything is great. I've been thinking a lot lately about something that the counselor said last week about me that she picked up out of nowhere. Well, I shouldn't say out of nowhere. I think that it comes from somewhere in a lot of us. But she said something about seeking validation and how I seem to be seeking, approval from somebody or something. And when she said it, it kind of hit me like hard because I've always told myself that I don't really give a damn what other people think. I don't really care what people think of me or if people think of the things that I do or the things that I create. I've always said that I'm my own person and that I live by my own code or whatever. But when she said it, when she picked it up, because whatever it was we were talking about, I don't remember the full context of the message, but when she said it, it was like, oh man, that stings a little bit because it it's something that I've told myself a lot that I don't do that. But I guess the reality is I do. The reality is I look for validation, and I think a lot of that stems back to a quest for validation as a child and looking for just acknowledgement that my ideas were okay, that my ideas were fine. And maybe it's a little bit of a litmus test for me to kind of vet myself and vet my ideas and make sure that I'm not crazy. Because I ask people that a lot, actually. If you come to my workplace or if you talk to me about ideas that I have, I ask quite often, is that crazy? Am I being silly? Because I truly want to know, like, am I being crazy right now? But all this comes back to the entire reason I decided to go talk to her now is because I have this creative drive, but I have no gumption to actually achieve anything. Almost like it's like having imposter syndrome before I'm successful. Like I have a fear of having imposter syndrome or something, or like the whole review channel thing. I'm gonna do it. I still say I'm gonna do it, and it's gonna happen. There is nothing telling me it's not. There's no lack of interest in doing game, board, and video game reviews. There's also no lack of interest in writing the book I started last year. There's no lack of interest in starting the new book that I've been working on and haven't told you about. The problem is when I think of those things, I think, why? Like, nobody's going to read it. Nobody's going to watch it. So why am I going to spend time doing that? Like, I have pre-imposter syndrome, and it stops me a lot. And I guess the reality of all of that is, I told her I went there because I have this intense creative drive. I have this desire to create, to make art, whether art is here in the shop with wood, or whether art is with words, or art is with these videos, or my style, or my software. I have an intense drive to create something, but I have no confidence to actually do it. And I think that it comes back to seeking validation. And if I'm going to spend the time to create it and I get no validation from it, then that's more painful than having not created it. I think that's the truth that I've come to. And that's the truth I want to take to her next week when we have our next session, is that that really kind of drove a whole lot home for me. If I make, so I made those chairs for somebody for Christmas, and I had absolutely no problem doing that because it wasn't my design. It wasn't my failure, right? It was somebody else's design, somebody else's success. I was just mimicking. I took their patterns and just mimicked the motions. And so if the customer didn't like it, it's not my fault. That's just what it is, Whereas if I had made something of my own and it didn't turn out quite as expected, then that's a huge blow to my ego, my id, which I've told myself for so many years I don't have, but apparently I do. I think I've just been lying to myself saying that I don't care, lying to myself saying that what other people think isn't important, when in reality it very much is. It very much is something that I need to work on. So, just wanted to share that with you. I wanted to share my quest for validation, and all that comes back around to today. I shut down. Do you remember the software that I made last year? I spent about a month and a half working really hard to create a kind of a task log and time tracking application. I spent quite a while working on it and ended up using it. I used it all year, a lot. Turned in weekly reports and everything with it. And ultimately, it wasn't what I wanted it to be. It worked for me, but in a very weird way. And to redo the user interface, I needed to redo the entire code base. And I found that software that I already have installed on my machine, like Microsoft tasks or groups or something, there's a Microsoft product that comes with Office that does exactly what I was doing. You can just make tasks, you can make, check them off that you did them, and it works much better than what I had written. So I killed it today. I just was like, you know what, it's time to kill it. There was no users, nobody had logged into it. I think Jonathan Howe was the last person to log into it, and that was in October. So nobody's been using it. I had no new signups in 6 months. I did zero to promote it, and probably could have promoted it, and probably could have got a few users here or there that would have given me the motivation to continue working on it. But the realization was it would be easier for me to start over with the idea and craft a whole new user experience than it would be to try to mold what I had written then. I've learned so much in the last year that it would be easier for me to just start over. And that's a fallacy in programming. It's a huge fallacy in programming to say it's easier for me to start over. But in this particular case, it is. I've learned a lot about databases in the past year, and a lot about UI and proper application design that would have been very difficult to kind of mold that into. So if I ever want to revisit it, I still own the domain, but it's just a dead page now. And if I ever want to re-own it or redo it, I will. I'll bring it back. But I killed it. It's time to say goodbye. I keep thinking about, what's the next thing I could try to write. So if you have any ideas for software that you'd like to see done, let me know. Maybe I can work on something that's somebody else's idea. Because then I don't have the fear of failure, I think is what it comes down to. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I appreciate you, and I will see you tomorrow. Okay, Google, tell me a random fact.
Wikipedia says that the film Titanic cost about $200 million to make. That's more than it cost to build the ship itself.
I wonder how much the ship was.